I used to find like crack behind my radiators and stuff. I've got a mum and dad that's hooked on crack now. We all got pretty malnourished. We're all rummaging through the cupboards, just chewing on like cinnamon sticks. He's taking me to school in these Rolls Royces and everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on? I went to 10 different primary schools. 10 different primary schools. Foster care wasn't a good time for me. Merseyside police have come to the door, but he rings me crying. And what a lot of people don't know, not even my own family, could get quite emotional now.
Yeah.
You know, it was quite a mad experience. You know, like my mum. Let me get water.
That's right, bro. What is happening, beautiful people? This is the Empowered Human Podcast. This podcast is part of Empowered Human Tribe. Some journeys change your life. This is one of them. From the 15th to the 22nd of November, we are going to India. We're going to Varkala for Empowered Wellness Escape, designed for people who have been carrying a lot. To find out more, head over to empoweredhumantribe.co.uk. And big love to our sponsor, Life Lab Supplement. They produce high quality wellness supplements and help other brands build their own. Check them out at lifelabsupplement.com. Before we dive in, go ahead and subscribe, leave a rating, and share this podcast with someone you love. Now, take a deep breath. Open your mind and let's dive in. Trigger warning, this episode contains discussions of sexual abuse, drug addiction, and mental health struggles. If these topics are sensitive for you, please take care while listening. My guest today is Bobby. Bobby's story is nothing short of inspirational. I'll let the man introduce himself.
Yeah, so my name's Bobby. If you don't know now, you know.
If you don't know now, you know.
Yeah.
Get to know.
34 years old, from Manchester, Salford areas, you know, but I'm here now in Rosendale.
Yeah. Live in the valley.
Just winging it, bro.
Yeah. I was live in the valley treating you.
It's good. I'm a city boy at heart, but I like the quiet life. It's all right, you know, away from the hustle and bustle, because it can get quite overwhelming at times.
True.
So yeah, it's good. It's grounding. It's peaceful, you know.
I don't know about you, but there's something about stillness that I feel like is underrated. And, you know, moving out of the country, moving out of the city, moving to the countryside, there's something about like that stillness that you get from the countryside that you wouldn't normally get from the city. And I feel like for me, it's so underrated, because just having that peace of mind to like think, have clarity of thoughts is so important. And
I think for someone like me that's always got the sense of urgency, I want everything yesterday, but I'm living 2-3 months ahead.
Damn,
you know, and especially when you're in the hustle and bustle, I think that fight or flight mode is in full effect.
Yeah, true.
So I think when you're here, you know, even the people, are just so withdrawn in a good way, you know, and that energy is infectious, you know, and I think it's good. You know, I'm kind of used to it now. I've got family in Spain and they've got a lot of land, so it kind of like reminds me of home away from, you know, a little bit, you know.
Yeah. So Bobby, me and you, we go to the same gym.
Yeah.
We've been talking, we've got talking, and your story, like, I don't think I've heard any other story that's as inspiring as yours. And I grew up in Nigeria. I've seen a lot of, like, you know, poverty and people, you know, going through it, but I've never met anyone like you. And the fact that you're still standing, for me, is like incredible.
Appreciate it, bro.
Talk to me about childhood, because obviously, like, you know, a lot of people would find this stories that I have heard like almost unbelievable, because they're I
think so. Going right back, you know, as far as I can remember, living with my mum and dad in Levenshulme, in Manchester. My dad owned a nightclub years and years ago. I think it's the Roxy Ballroom now on Deansgate Road. He used to, whatever it is, he owned that. Mum used to work in Quick Save. Yeah. you know, and they were just getting through life. And then I think, obviously, getting older and older, I'm realising what's actually going on in life, in my mum and dad's life. You know, he was just mixing around with the wrong people. You know, at the time it was a norm for me. You know, I thought it was normal, you know, but I started to realise it was quite an abusive relationship, you know, moving around a lot, you know, living alongside, you know, it was just quite all over the place. You know, I went to 10 different primary schools. 10 different primary schools. Didn't have really much of an education growing up, you know, because my dad was involved in life. You know, we'd come home, you know, whether he's been stabbed or he's been cut up or attacked with a hammer or whatever. So we'd end up moving to Scotland and then sitting there for a little bit, going to school there and then moving somewhere else and then just moving. So never really had a stable childhood. Yeah. You know, and then obviously he surrounded himself with the wrong people, but he was making some pretty decent amount of money, you know, because he's taking me to school in these Rolls Royces and everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on? You know, who's this? You know, you know, but what I didn't realise, it was all bloody drug money and money laundering and stuff, and the house getting raided. I didn't know what was going on. I'm too young to know. So, and I think my mum just got sucked in it all into this, you know, into this fast life. Yeah. So I've got, 6 sisters, 5 now. I've got 2 brothers. Yeah. I'm the second eldest. I've 1 sister older than me. A lot of my sisters and brothers weren't born at the time. I think there was just me and my big sister for a while. You know, and it was just a pretty fast life for my parents. And then I think I started to realise when things weren't normal, when I'm asleep at night and I could hear, you know, my dad beating up my mum and stuff and everything, and the arguments, and it was just argument after argument, you know, and then, you know, we moved into this big house in Partington in Manchester. Back then it was you know, it was pretty racist area. Yeah, it was crazy. I remember our windows used to get smashed all the time because of, you know, my dad, you know, oh, you fucking this, that, you know. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but
no, that's fine, bro.
And then again, it was just the individuals that he used to introduce me to. He used to be like, come on, Bobby, come with me. And I used to be sat around these people and they just weren't normal people. You know, you just look at them, they were very intimidating. And, you know, the things that they talk about, I'd start to pick up on, and they're just not normal conversations that like a 7-8-year-old child should understand, you know. And then that's when I got introduced to the hard drugs. Like I used to find like crack behind my radiators and stuff, and like where we used to live. It used to be an old children's home, but it was in a really nice gaff, and next to it was a guest house. Yeah. And in the guest house, that was like a crack house. You know, that's where they used to just chop all the crack up, and that's where everybody used to be. They used to stash it everywhere and stuff, and that's when I used to find it. You know, and I'm like, Mum, what's this? She go, bam, slap me, and she's like, oh, give like, yeah. And that was our life for a while, you know. Again, it was just a norm for me, you know. And then slowly, things started to change pretty quickly in my dad. When I mean changing, like he started to lose weight a lot. He used to not be home a lot. His behaviour used to change, and he used to beat me up a lot. You know. None of my sisters or anything like that. You know, just me for some reason. I don't know what it was. You know, and I realised that he started taking drugs. He was hard on crack, and I used to find, you know, like the tin foil and the bottles with the pipe hanging out and stuff. You know, I used to find that a lot, and I think that's why he used to beat me up a lot, because I used to hide it. All, you know, such a young age, man. I was like, what, 7, 8, 8 years old, you know, just hiding it all. And he'd be like, where is my stuff? He's doing this. And he used to like hit me a lot, and I used to go and hide behind my mum, and then he'd start taking out my mum, and there'd be times where it'd be bloody 2, 3 in the morning, we're all asleep, and he'd wake us all up, clean the house, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was that was life for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And I think my mum kind of had a bit of a mental breakdown. She'd go down to Wales where my mum's side of the family were, and he'd come down, and he'd put a gun to my uncle's head, he'd be like, she's coming back with me, and he'll come down with like 10, 15 guys, and she just couldn't escape, and then unfortunately, she started getting these weird feelings, and she'd go to the doctors, this, that, and what he was doing was he was lacing her roll-ups with crack, and but she didn't realise she was hooked on crack until she went to the doctors, because she's like, I'm not feeling normal, this, that, and he got her hooked to make her stay. So I've got a mum and dad that's hooked on crack now. I'm in this big house, they're not paying no rent, everything. It's just a mad life, and then that's when the money trouble started coming in, and it got to a point where it was like we had these big bags full of like 1p's and 2p's, and we're going to the shops with all this and what's it called, and we're just trying to buy what we can, and it got pretty bad. We all got pretty malnourished, and as mentioned before, it got that bad where we're all rummaging through the cupboards, and we're all like just chewing on like cinnamon sticks and whatever we can find and stuff, just to have a bit of flavour or something, bread and milk. Do you know what I mean? Like we used to put bread, we used to soak the bread in the milk, a bit of sugar or whatever, and we used to eat that, and my dad used to just lock himself away in the room, and same with my mum, my dad used to just disappear, and then obviously fast forward a little bit, the neighbours started clicking on what was going on, so my dad had to move because obviously he couldn't afford to live there, and then we was just bouncing from crack house to crack house. So my dad was, here, there, and everywhere. And my mum was doing the best she could. Well, obviously she had her own struggles with substance abuse and everything, and my dad, she had back in the days it was called a gyro, and what was it now? I think it might be universal credit or something. And my dad used to come back. Bear in mind, my mum's had a few kids by now, so we'll fast forward in a couple of years, and he'd only come back and beat her up for the gyro, leave us with like 20 quid. There's like fucking 6 of us. And it was like that again. It was like that for a really long period of time. And then we moved to Prestwich, and again, that's where my dad was, because my mum always used to try and find my dad, and we used to get dumped there, and the same, used to just argue over drugs. Random people coming in the house, my dad disappearing, no money, my mum having to make ends meet.
Before he started using the drugs himself, like, when you were younger, was he like that before, or is it?
He, as far as I can remember, he was always he was very abusive, manipulative. I don't think he always used drugs, but I think it was just karma.
It was karma over the drugs, but now,
and he was always an abusive guy, physically. Especially to me and some of my sisters. He was always like that, very snappy, short-tempered. I don't know why, I don't even know why, but he was always like that with my mum, and that was that. But going back to what I was saying, what's it called? Kind of lost my train of thought now.
So like that, you're kind of having to grow up fast because
again, I'm the eldest boy. I'm looking after my little siblings at the time. They don't know what's going on. We need food. So anyways, like I was saying, my dad was gone. only coming back for the money. You know, they was arguing. He was you know, trying to pimp my big sister out for money. This, that. So my mum was like, listen, enough's enough. You're out.
Yeah.
You know, and then he went to jail. Not too sure why.
Yeah.
He went to jail. I was a mummy's boy, and she loved me, you know, and she'd take me wherever she went. And all around like Levenshulme, Longsight areas. And she'd leave me upstairs. Whilst they're all getting high and off crack and weed and heroin or whatever. You know, and then she'd come up and she'd be sprawled out against the bed, you know, and then...
Yeah.
And I can't explain a crack house. Yeah. The smell of crack and just being in an environment and just damp and dark and no wallpapers on the walls, and they've got this little single bed and I've got to sleep on it. You know, it was nasty. You know, and what a lot of people don't know, not even my own family. You know, because I've kept it. You know, kept it to myself. I think I've only ever told like one or two people in my life that there was one time I got sexually abused. You know, not a lot of people know. I could get quite emotional now.
Yeah.
You know, it was quite a mad experience. You know, like my mum. Gonna get water.
That's right, bro.
My mum just sprawled out. On, you know, of heroin, you know, and I'm there getting sexually abused on the next bed, you know, of some random guy, you know. But anyways, that happened, and then I told, you know, obviously, you know, when I seen my dad, I kind of told him, and he went mad. Yeah. You know, he went mad, and I don't know if my younger brother and sister even remember this situation. Yeah. You know, he went mad at this. I don't know who this person was, this kid guy, whatever. You know, went crazy at him when it was like in the middle of the street. And he's like, oh, this, that, you know, what the, you know, it just kicked off, and then the police come to the house, getting a witness statement for me saying, listen, what happened? And I'm like, listen, I don't know. I'm trying to push him away. And, you know, but at the time you don't know what's going on. Yeah. You know, you're only a defenseless child, you know, you don't know what the fuck's going on. You know, and then obviously I don't know what happened after that, you know. And again, from there, I think that's when my mum started getting a bit of support. We went into a homeless unit. We was in a homeless unit in Bury. My dad was still in Prestwich, you know, but he got to the point with my dad where he'd lock himself in the room, and like there was one time I went into the room and there's just like writing all over the walls, and it was just crazy. He totally lost his head. He went insane through crack and heroin. He went absolutely insane. And sorry. That's and right. And anyways, we're at this homeless unit, and you know, we're all just trying to get by, you know. And obviously, again, my mum's still taking me to these crack houses and everything. And again, my dad's in Prestwich, in and out of jail. And then I totally lost contact with him. And then that kind of went on for a while. And then and then obviously my mum started approaching these big time drug dealers for money, you know, because we couldn't afford rent. We couldn't afford food. You know, and they kind of helped us out, and it was weird, really, because, you know, my dad kind of tried to played on a lot of people with sympathy. You know, he used to say, "Oh, pretend this is your auntie." You know, don't say it's your mum, just say your mum passed away and this is your auntie, you know, because he used to he used to scrounge off people, and then my mum kind of started doing the same, you know, with these drug dealers and everything, and it started getting pretty bad. So, so that happened, that was happening, and then slowly, because we wasn't in education, because we wasn't in schools now, we weren't in schools, none of me and my brothers and sisters weren't in schools for a good few years now, and then social services started clicking on when my mum was in the homeless unit. So they started paying visits. Yeah. Got a couple of my younger siblings into school. And then it was just me, really, that wasn't in, me and my big sister, that wasn't in, I don't know, was it like year 7 now? Yeah. Year 7. Didn't go, I missed year 7, so I didn't start school till year 8, but we'll come back to that. Yeah, so we're at this homeless unit, and then from Bury we went to Ashton, a homeless unit in Ashton, and that's where it kind of went south even more.
Yeah.
At first everything was all right there, and then obviously my dad wasn't in the picture. He was coming back and forth, and then, you know, everybody's hearing all the fighting and this and that, you know, and then nobody kind of really liked us then. And I think I was about 11, so I'm about 11 years old then. 10, sorry. And what they used to do is, at this homeless unit in Ashton, some of the kids on there older than me, probably like 13, 14, right? They used to organise fights, and because I'm this outcast kid, they didn't like us, so they used to just throw stuff at the windows and whatever, and, you know, and obviously my mum's too out of it to understand what's going on, you know. I'm too busy protecting my little brothers and sisters, you know. They don't know what's going on, you know. And I had one friend there, some Irish kid. Yeah, he was pretty cool, man, you know. And he always stuck by me, you know. He kind of like had my back a little bit, but the rest of the people that used to live there, it's madness, because their parents used to get their sons to fight me. Right, so it was like on a weekly basis or even a daily basis. They used to organise these fights, right? Yeah, they used to organise these fights, and it'd be like, and there was this road where they used to have these trailers for these lorries, and I always used to sit on there with my mate and, you know, running and jumping, and then a lot of them would come and they'd start something, and next thing you know, like, they're like organising fights. You know, and I'm only, 10 years old, 11 years old at the time, and I'm fighting these kids that are like 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, just to protect my family. And I used to batter them. I swear to God, I used to batter them, you know. My mate used to watch, you know, and they used to, God knows what sort of individuals, or, you know, I don't know, man. You know, I just don't understand how parents can do that, you know, make the kids fight some defenseless kid or whatever, you know. And then when I do beat them up and stuff, they used to call the police and say, "Oh, this kid, you know, look at him, you know, he's beat my son up, you know," and playing the victim and stuff. And that used to happen a lot, you know, weekly. You know, I'm fighting for my life here, you know, for my brothers and my sisters and everything, you know. And then obviously, one time my mum got put in hospital because of the drugs and everything. So I think, and then we was at home alone, nobody, you know.
By yourself?
Yeah, by himself, yeah. And then obviously we all got put into a children's home for a day or whatever. And then obviously again, social services got involved again. And then we moved to a different, because of this, what was happening, you know, because I had black eyes and everything. So social services like, what's going on? And then finally, I broke down. I was like, listen, this is what's happening, you know. And then they moved us to another homeless unit, you know. And then this was the breaking point for us all. This was the final bit in everything. So I think. One day, she goes, right, come on, we're going to see your dad. So I was like, oh my God, she's back in contact with my dad again, you know. And we all went down Prestwich, where he was living. There's I think it's a Lidl or an Aldi next to where we was, a few streets down. That's where my dad was. Anyways, she bought loads of shopping, and She handed me a £5 and she goes, listen, Bobby, I love you so much, but this is the last time you're ever going to see me. You know, she goes, I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. I've had a mental breakdown. I need to sort my life out. You know, I don't, you know, and she just dumped us with our dad, you know, with a £5. But at the back in that, I don't know if it was a lot of money or whatever, but she goes, listen, make sure you give this £5 to your dad.
Yeah.
And she just, I walked her to the bus stop.
£5?
Yeah. And she walked us. Well, I walked her to the bus stop. She just kissed me on my forehead and she said bye. And that's the last time I ever seen my mum for God knows how long. So I went back to the house, told my big sister the situation. I said, listen, we can't stay here. You know, because he's locked in his room, high as a kite, just shouting, screaming, banging, writing on the walls. And we're like, this is not where we need to be.
Yeah.
So we came up with a plan. I said to her, you stay here with the youngest.
Yeah.
Like the babies. I think it was like one of my baby sister, a couple of my baby sisters.
Yeah.
My baby brother wasn't born at the time. I think she was still pregnant with my baby brother.
Your mum was still pregnant?
Yeah, she was still pregnant, because she was always pregnant. That's all I could remember. My mum was always pregnant. That's all I remember about mum. She was always pregnant. Anyways, so I told my sister, and I was like, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'll take, like, the ones that can walk with me. You know, I don't know how many of us there were then at the time. Maybe 6 or 7 of us, or 8 of us. I'm not too sure. I was like, you stay with the younger ones. I've got enough money. I've got 5 or 8. It's 50p per person on the bus from Prestwich to Bury.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, I've got a 5 or 8. I'll take whoever I can. The oldish ones. You stay here.
Yeah.
And then I'll come and get you.
Yeah.
So she stayed. I took them on the bus, and I remember, and people were like, whoa, don't forget, I'm only 11 at the time.
Yeah.
My sister's, 14, I think?
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm 11 years old, right? I've got my little brothers and sisters with me, that are probably toddlers, right? I get them on the bus. Everyone's flabbergasted. Everyone's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
You know, I've got a team of kids here with me, and I'm like, well, I need to go to Bury. So we end up going to Bury bus station, and then from Bury bus station, you know, I don't even know how I managed to find my way there, but I remember, because I think it's because the routes that my mum always used to take. And from Bury bus station, I went to the homeless unit, and that's when I thought, they was like, oh, right, okay, you know, because they probably thought that we're still living with my mum, and I knew my mum was still there, and I told them the situation. I go, this is the situation. The police need to go to save my sister quickly, because if my dad finds out, he's going to end up killing my sister. You know, or something, or you might end up taking her and just disappearing. I don't know. So they take us in, and I remember one of the neighbours upstairs was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that we didn't know this was going on."
Yeah.
You know, give us some food, and that was the day we all got split up, and that was probably the last day I seen a lot of my brothers and sisters for a good 5 years, 6 years. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
You got split. So you got split out how?
So this is how it happened. So social services got involved. We all got put into emergency foster cares in 2s, but I was the only one that got singled out because I was the eldest boy, basically. I don't know why. I got the short end of the stick for some reason. It is what it is.
Yeah. Is it because foster parents don't usually take older kids? Is that a reason?
Probably, yeah. I think.
Not sure.
I'm not too sure.
Idea,
no, I think when you get adopted, I don't know. When you get adopted, obviously the younger the better, innit, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, they all got put into 2s, and then and then that was it. We all hugged each other, but we was excited at the same time. He was like, right, okay, we're getting out, and obviously they all went to wherever they went to, and then I came to Rottenstall.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I came to Rottenstall. I think how old was I at the time? I think I was 12, 13 at the time now. Was I 12, 13? Well, I don't know. I think I was like 12, and I was 12. Because it must have been like my birthday as the transition from going from Prestwich to the taking all my sisters and brothers or whatever. But anyways, so and then all got put into foster care, and then for me it was again foster care was not good for me. It wasn't good for me at all. Got bullied a lot. Especially of the kid. When I first came, it wasn't good. I got bullied a lot of the kids there, or the kid there, or whoever it was.
We're in the foster home.
Yeah. I don't know what he's doing now.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'll get back to that. But when we all got put into foster care, I think the whole case went to court, and it's the first time the court system's seen anything like this with a family so big, especially like a mixed race Asian family. They've never seen anything like it, and it all went to court. And surprisingly, my mum never showed up. My dad did. My dad fought for us to the court, which was very surprising. But my mum didn't come. It was just my dad. But anyways, there was a protection order against us all. It wasn't allowed. My dad was not allowed to come anywhere near us. So he just did what he did.
Do you know what his story was to wanting to have the connection back with you guys?
I think I don't know. God knows. I do not know why.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we didn't. But I think obviously, deep down, I think a bit of him was guilty in it. You know what I mean? You know, because it's all of his kids or whatever. But I don't know. But my mum was nowhere to be seen. And that's when all my brothers and sisters got adopted. Then they all went to really nice families. I'm so happy for them, But obviously they've all had the uphill struggles and battles with certain things. But I'm just glad they went into really good families. And I became this loose cannon. I was feral. Yeah. Where I was at the foster placement. I was just free to do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah,
But and because of that, I became a bit of a problem child, and obviously they had a son there and everything, and
so their own
the foster placement. Yeah, they had a few kids there, and then they had a few kids there, but I used to get bullied a lot or whatever, and I just wanted a home. Yeah, you know what I mean. I just wanted a place to call home. Yeah. I just wanted stability. I didn't want to move around, so I was like, listen, I want to stay. So slowly, I don't know why, but it just became me. It was just me there, and then obviously their son. He's a good kid. He's a good lad. But at the time, I don't think he'd say the same about me because I was a bit of a crazy kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? The police coming home, bringing me home every day. Because I started to hang about with the wrong people, and I started taking drugs from a really, really young age. Yeah. Like 14 years of age. Dibble and dabbling with like ecstasy and weed and everything like that, all the class A's or whatever, except like cracking heroin or whatever. But and I was just living this fast life for such a young kid, but for me it was the norm, there was no, I don't know, I just a lost kid, and that went on for a few years. And then obviously my relationship started to break down in the foster placement. I don't want to go too much into detail about what was going on there, just out of respect for them. They had their own things to deal with. That's life. And I think it got to about 17, 18. And obviously my foster mum at the time was like, Bobby, I think it's best if you leave. So, and then I was like, whoa, what do I do now? But I kind of prepared myself for the situation because I was really independent at a young age anyway. Yeah. And I was like, bloody hell, what do I do? At the same time, I might be going back and forth here a little bit, but at the same time, I'm fighting to see my brothers and sisters. During this phase, I've got a lot going on, at the phase of the foster care, I think I've like totally skipped high school or whatever. But yeah, foster care wasn't a good time for me, but I'm going to backtrack it a little bit because I forgot to mention a few things. Yeah. So obviously getting bullied, this, that, obviously then it became just me, through specific reasons I don't want to mention out of respect for, their family. So so then I started to find my way a little bit, so I think I was like 16. I was like, right, I'm going to promise myself like the way I'm going, because so I was fighting to see my brothers and sisters, and then I started getting contact slowly at the contact centres. Okay. Right. So you're seeing them now? Yeah. So I'm slowly starting to see them at the contact centres, and that this is like in year 8 or whatever, and then all of a sudden we get a phone call saying, we've managed to get in contact with your mum. So your mum wants to come and see you. So then we start seeing my mum at the contact centres. She's totally cleaned herself up. Oh, amazing. She's found a new partner. Yeah. My little baby brother was born at the time, but he gets taken straight into
away.
care.
Yeah.
He gets taken out. He gets taken away straight away.
Do you even get to meet him as a baby or not?
At the time, yeah, but then no.
Okay.
So because again, where one of my sisters was, he went to them, so everybody was in twos kind of thing. So he went straight to one of my baby sisters, and they went to live in Saddleworth with a decent family. So then my mum started coming, and then once a week I'm going to see my mum. But at the time I was telling her, listen, I'm getting bullied, this, that, so, and then it started to affect her.
Yeah.
And then so that goes on for a little while, this contact, and then my mum just stopped showing up out of the blue. Out of the blue, she just stopped showing up, and then they're like, listen, we think we don't know what's going on. So that stops, and then we catch wind of the fact that her partner at the time just made her stop eating. But I found out that he was abusive.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I found out that she's with an abusive guy, and then she just stopped coming because he didn't want her to. He didn't want her to come anymore.
Yeah.
And then she ended up getting pregnant with his kid. So it was like, yo, with us now, forget them lot.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like really, again, that was like, what, So then fast forward a couple of years, I'm heavy on drugs or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to these contacts wired out of my head, then they kind of like see it. So then they stop all contact with me because I'm a bit of a crazy kid.
Yeah.
If they say anything to me at the contact centre, that's it. I'm up, I'm throwing chairs, I'm going mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so I lost all contact with them. And then that's when I was like, I need to change my life because I don't want to go on like this because there's only one way this is going, and I'm following in the footsteps of my mum and dad, and I don't want to do that. So I kind of straightened myself out, go college.
So the thoughts of not having the contact with like your brothers and sisters made you change, or like is that something you care about yourself?
A lot of people seen potential in me. They were like, Bobby, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is not good, Bobby. And there was a lad I remember. He's a top guy, and I see him every now and again, and I'll get back to him later on. And he was with the older lot, they used to do skateboarding, and he used to like say, Bobby, why don't you just come skateboarding, that. And then I went through a phase of skateboarding.
Come on.
I went through a phase, madness, because my boss at the time, he used to skateboard, and I started tagging along with them lot, and he's like, well, maybe promise me one thing that, you'd stop all that stuff and just make something of your life. And I was like, right, okay. And that's the first person that ever said anything to me like that. And I was like, you know what, I want to do it. And I was like, I'm going to college now, this, that, and it was just somebody that I could share my stuff with. And I'm like, I'm going to college now. And he's like, oh, well done, this and that. And went to college, because I wasn't really academic, went to college, so then I just started focusing on me then.
Yeah.
So I didn't see my brothers and sisters very long time because I'm just trying to focus on my life, trying to focus on me. And in the process of me focusing on me, I went to college, and then I jumped onto this this program called V-Talent. It was called V-Talent, and I think it was like a funded, organized. It was like a funded. I'm not too sure what it was, but it was like a funded organisation, and they chose. You applied for it.
Yeah.
And it's a selected students, and managed to get that, and got onto that, and that was working towards a youth work qualification. Yeah. So in the process of doing all that, I did like 1-2 days a week in Preston at this classroom, and then they managed to get me placements in what they call now. They used to be called connections. Remember, but they're called like information and guidance centres now.
Yeah.
Youth clubs.
Yeah.
Doing outreach work. So I've done a total 180 on my life.
Wow.
Managed to straighten myself out. So I did over like 100 hours voluntary work. Within the young people service.
Wow.
then in the process of this, I think it's like the Lancashire, what is it, Free Press or Telegraph or whatever, caught wind of my story. I don't know if somebody
told them about
my story or whatever. And then they caught wind of it, and they wanted to do a little interview with me. You know, and they took a few photos, and I kind of like told them about like my life story and how I've turned my life around and how I want to use my life experiences to make a positive impact on young people. Yeah. And then that got put into the papers. Yeah. And obviously you got Manchester Evening News caught wind of it, and then all of a sudden I got approached by these producers. Yeah. I think the TV program were called Shine. Yeah. And they wanted to interview me. Yeah. Based on that little article in the papers. So I went on there. Man, I was so nervous on there, man. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. And then I went on there, and I was talking about my life and how I'm, my journey and everything, and how I want to use my life experiences to make a positive impact on you people. Yeah. And I think that was my main goal. I was like, right, okay, that's what I want to do in life. Yeah. So that happened, and then, I'm getting phone calls off these radio stations and, telling, so it's like I'm like, whoa, this is what's going on. And then again, on the back of all that, I found out that I've been shortlisted for Lancashire's Most Inspiring Role Model. I think this was 2009. Yeah. I was 19 at the time. 19. And then I ended up going to this event, and honest to God, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. It was in Preston at this place. Yeah. And obviously they do a little story about you, and they do a little vote, and anyways, I ended up winning Lancashire's Most Inspiring Role Model. It was crazy, bro. I don't think a lot of people would know that. Not a lot of people know that about me. I think maybe some of the people that are still in the young people service. I think they'd still probably know, but and then obviously I won another award for achieving beyond barriers. And then, I started, I got invited to judge on like these talent shows, and I'm sat next to someone that's won Big Brother, and I'm sat next to these radio hosts, and I'm just like, whoa, I feel like people asking for my autograph. These girls, you know what I mean? It was madness. I was like a celebrity, man. You know what I mean? It was madness, bro. It was madness, and signing all these autographs. Oh, my mate's in hospital. Can you write a good little message? And I'm like, yeah. It was crazy, bro. And Peter, I know, getting recognised a little bit, and and
you've earned it. You've deserved it. You worked to turn your life around.
Yeah, and then for some reason, it just seems to be that life throws these mad curveballs at me, and something so shocking happened to me after all that happened, and I was like, right, okay, I know where I'm going. But anyways, I kind of like managed to get back in contact with my mum. Yeah. I don't know how, but I managed to get back in contact with her anyways, and then she gave me her address because she wasn't allowed to give it me. But she managed to give me her address. Yeah. And I just couldn't bring myself to go to see her out of the fear of rejection, because I don't know if I turn up there. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I don't know if she's had a bit of a mad situation with her fella or whatever. So I just couldn't bring myself to go, and I was just too focused on what all this stuff that's going on, this positive stuff. And I get a phone call from social services saying my mum passed away, and she died. It wasn't nice. She died it was horrible the way she died, and then time stood still for me that day, I spoke to my big sister, and because I always said to my big sister, I go, if you ever get back in contact with my mum, make sure you let me know. Yeah. And she's probably not going to be happy that I'm saying all this, but I don't care, because it really affected me, what she did to me, I always said to her, if you ever get back in contact with mum, please let me know, you know, because I'm a mummy's boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anyways, the funeral comes along, and that's when before the funeral, I go to the chapel of rest, right?
Yeah.
And I see my mum, and it's the first time I've seen my mum in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Or something, not 15 years, like 8 years or something. I don't know. Just it was a long period of time, 8 years or whatever. Because I'm like 19 at the time, you know. And I think the last time I see my mum, prop player, I don't know. But anyways, and I lost it. I absolutely lost it. Just seeing your dead mum there for the first time, but I just know that she was at peace.
Yeah.
That's it. She, you know, and she had such a tough life, and you know, God bless her. You know, she had such a hard life. You know, she one bad relationship after another, and then I meet all my extended family on my mum's side at the funeral.
Yeah.
You know, like my uncles and my aunties. You know, and then that's when they put me in contact with my mum's mum, who's in Spain. Okay. You know, and it's like, oh, your nana, you know, because obviously my nana held me when I was a kid, and the last time she seen me was when I was like 1 year old, you know, 2 years old, you know what I mean, and she's in Spain with my uncle, and then I get in contact with them, you know, and I'm in contact with my aunties and my uncle. You know, I didn't really speak to anybody else. I'm not too sure why, but I kind of like kept in contact with my nana and two of my uncles and my auntie. But life just kind of spiraled out of control for me when my mum passed away. I've never been the same since. Never been the same since. You know, because that yearning, you know, it's a weird feeling. I can feel myself welling up again, man.
Yeah, that's right, bro.
It's like, even till now, I'm 34 years of age, but like I go through these stages where I just want my mum. Just want my mum, you know. It's a weird feeling. And let's have a sip of water.
Right, bro.
And anyways, you know, it's just a mad feeling, you know, losing your mum at a young age, you know. And the only memories you've got of your mum is not nice, you know. All that stuff, all that trauma, you know, and especially the stuff that happened to me when she's laid out on crack, you know. But you know, and I'm tenacious, you know. I crack on, but I'm just lost. I am lost. I moved back to, in the process of all this is when my husband goes, Bobby, I think it's time if you go. So I've got all this going on, and then everything that happened to me, you know, all this positive stuff within people's service just goes boom down the drain. I just forget about it all. Like, I wish I had, even through that, I just wish I had that guidance where it's, Bobby, listen, crack on with that. Keep that's your get out of jail card right there. Keep run with it. But I didn't have that sort of advice, and then, you know, at that age, and then I moved to back to Manchester, and you know, I've got like 2-3 jobs, you know, and I'm just getting by in life, and it's not easy being a teenager, living on your own, fending for yourself, trying to pay because I was just working to pay the bills then. That's it. You know, all them aspirations, whatever you want to call them, visions and them goals just went straight out the window. Just gone, and I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to survive now. And then before I know it, you know, I'm in my 20s. I'm like, what's going on? You know, and then I'm just again bouncing from job to job. Just, you know, I'd stay in a job and I'd last 6 months, and I'm like, oh, you know, but again, I didn't have that advice there to say, Bobby, listen, or somebody to crack the whip and say, well, what are you doing? You know, this is not what you do, you know, and again, I'm just trying to find my purpose again, you know, I don't know what's going on, and
So, like, at this point, who did you have around you?
Nobody. Nobody. You know, because I'm going to court to see my brother, right? And I'm like, obviously, my brother and sister was in adoptive care.
Yeah.
I could not just see them, you know, because they were protecting them, you know, and I always wanted to be close to my brothers, you know, and they were like, hey, it's a good idea if you don't see your brother, you know, but I was like, I've changed, you know, so I tried to go court to see my baby, I tried to go court to see one of my brothers, you know, and I managed to start seeing everybody again, but again, it's not the same. And it's just sad. It was just sad, you know, because we go on these days out and everything, but it just feels like we're distant cousins. It doesn't feel like we're brothers and sisters, you know, because they've all got their family, but they call them mum and dad. So I've got two sisters over there, my mum and dad. I've got a brother over there, oh yeah, my mum and dad, and everyone's got their own mum and dads, but I'm just this, like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm still thinking it's a family unit.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to impose my big brotherness on everybody, and they didn't like it because they listened to me. Yeah. You know, so then there was times where you can only see your brother once a month or once. I was only allowed to see one of my brothers once a year.
Once a year?
My baby brother, yeah. Fair, but at the time I hated his adoptive parents because I was like, how can you rob me? Yeah. How can you? I've already been robbed of my upbringing. I've already been robbed of certain things. Yeah. You know, how can you rob me of watching my little brother grow up? But now I kind of understand because they were protecting him. Yeah. And it's all good, you know, because he's a good kid now. You know what I mean? He's very clever. You know, he's at uni down Cornwall, and you know he's doing good things, man. You know, and you know, and I'll talk about him later in it. You know, but anyways, So I'm just going all over the place, you know, working here, there, I don't know what's going on, and you know, and I was in this, you know, obviously, you get yourself into relationships, and they're not the best of relationships, and again, that has a negative impact on you, you know, because then you know, at that age, I realised that in my life, a lot of people weren't loyal to me; they were loyal to the need of me. You understand? You know, and I got took advantage a lot, you know, anyways, and I'm just battling through life, and then I take up, you know, I find a gym. Yeah. You know, I find a gym. I start doing MMA, mixed martial arts. I start doing that for a while, you know, a gym around here, and I started doing that a lot, started competing a little bit, amateur, you know, and I thought, you know what, this is me, I like this, but it was a release, and it was an escape, and it was a coping mechanism, you know, and I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do, you know, I want to train, you know, and I just see where it takes me. So I started doing that for years, you know, I did that for years, and obviously when I moved to Manchester, I started doing that for years, and then I was just training, but I think the competing side of thing kind of like went out the window a little bit because it was a confidence thing for me, you know, again, I just didn't have the right people around me to stay, to you know, to guide me and navigate, you know, and again, it was anxiety, social anxiety. You know, it was crippling. Anxiety was crippling for me. It was crippling for me. You know, and you know, and I just trained, and I was just training just to escape life. You know, and there were times where I wasn't in a job. You know, I've got friends paying my rent for me. Yeah. You know, but I was at the gym 2-3 times a day. 2 times a day, you know, I was at the gym training, you know, whether it be kickboxing, MMA, BJJ, whatever, you know, and you know, and that's where I found comfort in the chaos of everything, you know, and I was doing that, and I was like, I want to, and I see people today, and they were like, Bobby, you know, I can't believe you didn't go pro, you know, I can't believe it, you know, it is what it it is what it is. It's something that I do want to get back into, but again, it's the confidence, it's the social anxiety thing. I don't know what it is, you know, and it's crazy, bro, you know, because I feel like I've wasted a lot of my prime years through anxiety, you know, and just fear, you know, and it is what it is. It is what it is, and
if you're 34, you're still in your prime years.
I know, but I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes, man. I don't feel like I should be alive today. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know, the wear and tear on my soul, bro, is heavy, man. You know, but anyways, I'm jumping the gun a little bit. I'll rewind it back. Yeah. So, you know, I'm training, and then there'll be spells of me not training for like 6 months because of my own personal circumstances. So I because things got a bit bad for me, I ended up moving back to Rottenstall because my mate, who's been with me since day one, you know, saved my life, that guy, man. You know, he's like, Bobby, listen, move back. Move back. You know, I'll help you. Yeah. Move back. You know, because when I was in Manchester, you know, I lost all my jobs. I just stopped turning up to work because of my head. I don't know why. I was just struggling with life and everything, and loss of direction or whatever, guidance, whatever it was, and it was just all getting to me then. And obviously this is in my 20s, and I'm not training as much as I used to, and training for me was a big thing. And then when I'm not training as much, you know, like, oh, bloody hell, you know, it was just because I was training because I thought, you know what, I'd love to be a coach. You know, just I've got that coaching ability in me. You know, but anyways, you know, I ended up moving back to Rottenstall, and then my head's just gone, fully gone, man. I don't know I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, and then this is 21, 22, 23. Well, I moved back to Rottenstall probably like 24-ish. Yeah. And then finding my feet a little bit with training. I'm like, right, okay. I'm you know, busting it there and back. You know, I'm finding my feet again. You know, there was a long period of time where, you know, one of the coaches, you know, he wasn't bothered about me paying a membership. Just turn up. Do you know what I mean? And I'll be forever grateful for that. You know, Gav at Manchester Predators. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he used to let me train for free for 6, 7, 8 months, man. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Because I kind of feel like he kind of knew what was going on in my life, but he was one of those where he wouldn't poke and prod and or whatever, you know, and it was such a good gym back in the days, man, you know. But again, anyways, I kind of like, because I'll be down, I'll be up, and I'll be down again. Yeah. You know, I feel like that's my life.
So, you know, in the midst of all this, where was your dad?
I don't know my dad. My dad was nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Don't know. So I never really, I never knew him. But then I forgot to mention, as I moved, before I moved back to Rottenstall, I flew out to Spain to go see my nana and my uncle. You know, and that was an emotional time, you know, because they told me everything about my mum. And this is amazing. What I wanted to get out with my sister. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place because it's a bit sporadic. Yeah. So I'll get back to that, moving back to Rottenstall in a minute. But so I go to my nana's in Spain. Yeah. She's telling me everything about my mum and this and that. I didn't really like to tell her much about what I experienced because I could see the pain in her eyes because it's a baby daughter. Yeah. Yeah. And remember earlier on I told you that, like, there's something that my sister did. I said to her, if you ever get back in contact with my mum, let me know. Yeah? My nana said, 6 months before your mum passed away, she went to live with your sister, right? I went, what? And she was like, yeah, but she was living with your sister. 6 months before she passed away. And in my head, my whole life just went boom again. Like my head went, I lost my head again. So I come back and I'm on the phone to my sister. I go, what's this? And she didn't know what to say. She was like, Bobby, I didn't want to put it on you, this, that, you know. And I was like, how could you do that? Yeah. You robbed me of seeing my mum, you know. And as a mummy's boy, I feel like that if I was there, my mum would be alive today. I don't know, bro. Everything's written. Everything's written, bro.
True.
Whole bunch of coulda, woulda, shouldas in it. But, and I kind of like stopped talking to my sister after that, you know, wiped my hands with her because of that for a little bit, you know. But anyways, you know, and that just ruined my head because I was like, how could you do something like that? You know, and she had all these different excuses and this and that. And I was just like, wow. And then that sent my head west again. And then I find myself in I find myself in the gutter again. And that just sends me at worse. And that's the reasons why I just couldn't find stability in work or anything, because these things really mess with me. So anyways, I moved back to Rottenstall, and I've started my life over from the beginning so many times, man. So anyways, I'm trying to start my life over again. And I'm trying to find work, and I'm trying to keep up. I really want to train, you know, because I really want to make something of it. But, you know, everybody's got their own lives. Everybody's trying to get somewhere in the gym, you know. So it's a selfish sport, bro. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, and not a lot of people know what's going on in my personal life because I kept it to myself, and they just see, oh, probably fucking hell, he's not gone to the gym again. Where is he? You know what I mean? Whatever. You know what I mean? But again, I just wish I had that. I wish I had that father figure there, you know what I mean? To crack the whips, to be like, look, make sure you go training, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. But again, I've developed these coping mechanisms to survive that weren't doing me any justice. But I don't know that only later on in life, you know. And I'm trying to unlearn these coping mechanisms. I'm trying to, you know, I'm stuck in survival mode. I'm stuck in fight or flight. I'm stuck in this sense of urgency. I don't know what's going on. You know, all this stuff that's happening to me. You know, and throughout my 20s was the most horrible. Like, I'm lucky that, like, for me, my life should have ended at 20. I shouldn't be alive now, bro. But 25 I shouldn't be alive right now. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm, you know, it was crazy, bro, because you know, all this happened, and then I ended up having a heart attack at 25. I ended up having a heart attack at 25. Jeez. And so I'm in the hospital in a coronary care unit for 3 days, and they come back, and it was obviously a heart infection, but a lot of it was to do with stress. You know, because, you know, the you know, cortisol, you know, when you're stressed and all this stuff, you know, disease, you know, do you understand? You know, and you know, and this is when I really realised that, bloody hell, you know, all this stuff that's happened to me is affecting me. You know, it's affecting my life, you know, and then again, because of having the heart attack, I couldn't really train. That went out the window. I'm in and out of hospital, you know. I don't know what to do. Me, I'm stubborn, but I'm ruthlessly ambitious, not in a bad way, but I'm ruthlessly stubborn, you know, because of what I've gone through in life, you know. And literally the next week I'm in the gym, my local gym, not doing much, but keeping active, because they said to me, you can't let your heart rate go above a certain beats per minute or it's going to pop, it's going to explode, because the capillaries of my heart was squashing my heart, you know. But me being me, I'm there, and then I'm in and out hospital, you know. I'll try and go training again, and I started picking up the training again. But then because I didn't know what to do, I'm starting smoking weed again, heavy, you know. Then I start getting involved with all this mad stuff, you know, just to make an income. Trying to keep up with training, and again, it's just not working. It's just not happening, you know. And then I feel like, right, okay, I'm building up a bit of momentum here, you know, going to morning practice and then going to the, you know, evenings. I'm like, right, okay, I've got something going here now, boom, 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 and then again, boom, I just stopped training again, dig myself into a rut in the gutter again, you know, because I've got heart pains and I can't really train much properly, and then I'm in and out of hospital, you know, and then they put me on these mad making, like codeine, this, that, because I've just got all these heart pains, and then before you know, I'm 27. You understand? You know, and I'm like, where's my life going? You know, and then, you know, and then just getting by, just about getting by, fighting to survive, not knowing what's going on in life, you know, again, searching for something, you know, and whilst all this is happening, I should have really went over more to see my nana. You know, I should have really reached out. But I wanted them to, like one thing, my nana and my uncle in Spain always kept in contact with me. Like, Bobby, you know, you can always come here, this, that. But because I was so wrapped up in the chaos in my life that I just didn't know what was going on. You know, financially, I couldn't even pay for a ticket to go out there. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to say, can I borrow some money or whatever. You know, I'm in some serious debt. You know, with bills and everything. You know, and I think in the space of 2 years, at 27, in the space of 2 years, I moved like 10 times.
Wow.
You know, I just didn't know what was going on. You know, I couldn't stick to a job. You know, but I realised why I was the way I was now. You know what I mean? We'll get to that. You know, and just no guidance and you know, again, but I never give up. You know, I never give up, and I'm just trying. I'm trying, and I'm trying to find different things. I'm trying to find avenues, and you know, and I'm an opportunist. I'm trying to find opportunities. I'm trying to create opportunities and everything. You know, and you know, because for me, when I always hit rock bottom, I'm like, right, okay, the only way is up now. You know, and I'll try again, and I'll try again, and I'll try again, and I'll keep trying it again, and then so yeah, I managed to find work, and you know, I managed to find work, and you know, and I'm slowly getting myself back up on my feet. You know, I start training again a little bit, you know, because I've always loved MMA. I've always loved it, you know. But it's crazy, man, you know, because that's something that I've always wanted to do, you know. Even the coaching side of things, but the amount of knowledge I've got is priceless in my head, you know, because I started, you know, way before a lot of the lads that I know started, you know, but and you know, God bless them, you know, they've got their own gyms now, they're doing well, you know, and it's such a nice thing to see, you know, and there's times where I think, oh, you know, I could have done the same, you know, then I start to dig myself in a hole, but it is what it is now. I'm learning, you know, it is what it is, you know, but my life wasn't the same. My life wasn't as plain and simple as certain people's, you know what I mean? And I was always just fighting to survive, man, you know,
you've been fighting to survive for a long time.
Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, I get into work, and then an opportunity comes, you know, and I'm like, right, okay, I feel like I'm at an opportunity to start my own business, you know. This fast forward to 29, you know, fast forward to 29. Well, how old was I now? No, sorry, I'm going to go back a little bit now. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
That's right,
so, I'm 25, I have the heart attack, everything like that, I have the heart attack, and then I'm slowly, you know, being active again, and then I get a phone call of my sister. And she's back in, my older sister, who I don't really talk to. And I'm like, right, okay, but I'll let bygones be bygones, whatever. She's like, listen, I've got back in contact with your dad, and I wasn't happy, you know. And she's like, yeah, he's in a nursing home, you know. Blah blah. He wants to talk to you. This that. And I'm like, right, okay. But anyways, and he always wanted to see me. And I know it sounds a bit heartless or ruthless or whatever. But I said to him, I go, I'm in this situation in life, and I'm suffering. I continue to suffer because of what you've done, right? And it's not fair. What's happened, and it is what it is. And what I said to him was, I go, the only time you're gonna see me is when I'm washing your dead body.
Wow.
You know, and that's that, and that'll be my closure, because I cannot bring myself to come and see you and act like everything's normal when everything that I've been through. Yeah, fair play. My other little sister, brothers and sisters wanted to go and see him. Yeah, it is what it is. You do you, innit? But they don't remember the feelings that I felt, or the situations that I've been through, or the situations that I went through because of him, because of his neglect. So, anyways, get a phone call. He really wants to see you. I'm like, no. So he get a phone call. He passes away. My sister said, listen, he's dead. He's passed away today. We need you to come down, because in that in his culture, religion, or whatever, in Islam, it's best to bury them straight away.
Straight away, yeah.
So he got buried on the day he passed away, straight away. So I was like, right, okay. And I took my mate. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I took my mate with me, my best mate, who's been there with me through thick and thin. Yusuf, he was like, make sure you give me a shout. Anyways, so I like, bro, listen, can you come help me? So I go down to the nursing home or whatever, and then that's where I see my dad. Don't really feel anything at the moment. So pick his body up, put it onto the stretcher thing, put it into the little private ambulance, and then we go to the mosque to go and wash his body. So now I've not only seen my mum, dead mum, for the first time in years. It's the first time I've seen my dad in 15 years now, dead. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. You know. And I was like, bloody hell, what I actually said to him is real. So I'm washing his body, and all I can do is just laugh because I'm in shock. So my mate's like, what are you laughing for? And I'm like, I just don't know. I just can't believe I'm in this. I'm looking at him and I'm laughing. I can't believe I'm in this situation. But anyways, we embalm him. We dress him up. We put him in the traditional white rock cloth that you put people in, and put him in the coffin, and then we take him to the mosque, and then there's a little room where you pay your final respects. Yeah. And that's where I lost it. I just lost it. I looked at him, and all my emotions, what I felt, I just burst out crying. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. Because it's end of the day, it's your dad, innit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter how much animosity or whatever, there were times where, where I thought they were good times, but they weren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, and it is what it is, because when I was just looking at him, it all came flooding back, because, there were times, where I was just remembering him being on drugs, beating me up, my birthdays, I got nothing, not one birthday I didn't get a single, even till I could remember, not one present, not one happy birthday or this, that, it was nothing like that. But anyways, and that just, again, sent me under a little bit, you know what I mean? So it was, every time I try and find my stride, there's a hurdle, I trip, and I don't know why, but anyways, that's how it was. So, 29, I'm in a job, and I just have this, I managed to create an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, okay. I managed to work for this company. I'm like, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
So I managed to learn the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I managed to learn the system. And all I need is somebody to give me a chance. So on the construction sites, a lot of the site managers was like, Bobby, listen, set your own business up.
Yeah.
Because we see your work ethic, we'll help you, So I think, what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump.
Yeah.
So I end up setting up this construction cleaning company with a partner of mine, business partner, who was my area manager. Yeah. So we ended up doing all this, and it was me and him said, listen, we've got 3 months.
Yeah.
We managed to get a little bit of money together, and we've we've got 3 months of funds, personal funds. We need to smash it.
Yeah.
So obviously, in the construction industry, especially in Manchester, if you're a good guy and you do a good job, you get well known, so one good thing about me and my business partner at the time, we weren't scared of being turned away or whatever. Exactly. So we're there, we're gunning for it, we're banging on these construction sites. Listen, this is who we are, we're just selling ourselves, and then we managed to land our first ever big cleaning contract. Yeah. It was peanuts now thinking about it, but it was, oh my God, we made it. So, and it was these apartments. And it took off pretty quick.
Oh wow!
Pretty quick. It took off quicker than we could have prepared for.
Yeah.
You know, so we end up getting these big contracts that are taking us nationwide, everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, because we did the work ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, you know, they seen our work ethic, and some people really liked the way we went about approaching for work.
Yeah.
And then obviously slowly I was like, listen, I need to start doing the business side of things, the business development side of things, and the sales side of things. And then my business partner at the time did all like it would, you know, I established the working relationships. He maintained the working relationships. You understand? So and it was a learning curve, man. You know, I'm getting drowned in all this stuff. You know, going to these site meetings, and they're like, "Oh, do you know what a tender is?" I'm like, "Oh, what's one of them?" You know what I mean? It was crazy, bro. And then there was like, "Well, you know, this and that," you know, and then I started learning a lot more.
Yeah.
About these different accreditations and stuff. So, you know, I learn all that, and then, you know, thankfully, you know, a QS on one of the sites, top guy, he took me under his wing. He goes, "Listen, I really like who you are. I don't know how he approached me. I don't know where he approached me from, but I don't know how. What did he message me on now? I don't know what he messaged me on.
Yeah.
I think it was on our Instagram page, and he was like, "Listen, I want you to come price a job for me." I don't know how he managed to find us. I don't know how it was, but anyways, went down, and this was probably our first professional proper job. You know, these guys were a proper outfit. You know what I mean? That do a lot of work with like the arrows and a lot of works in the ankles and all that. And I was like, "Listen, I've been winging it." Right, I've been winging it, but I need to.
Let's get real.
Yeah. These tenders that I'm doing, they're amateurish, bro, and I'm not even getting. But I was like, "Listen, can you help me here?"
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, "Listen, I really want you to get this contract, so I'm going to help you."
Yeah.
He did things I don't want to go into detail because he can get in trouble for whatever. But he did certain things where, you know, to show me this is how it needs to be done.
Yeah.
This is the ballpark figure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to tell you exactly because it's price fixing, whatever. But he goes, "This is the ballpark figure. This is how you need to do it." So I'm learning as I go along.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know a clue about Microsoft Excel. So all these different formulas and stuff. You know, if you're savvy with all that stuff, there's different formulas to price certain things. And I think it was my first 6-figure contract. And and I was just, you know, like cheesy in it, you know, creating a little booklet with all my pictures of all the work. I was like, "Here, take it. And I think they liked the fact that I went above and beyond. I'm building up these really good relationships with you know, clients and you know, and it's going really well. You know, it's just
Life's good again.
It's crazy, you know, and obviously within the first year, you know, the accountant's like, "You know what, I've never seen a company, you know, being so profitable." You know, you know, because I work smart, you know, and I feel like I know what I'm doing in business, and you know, and I think I treated all my staff really well, and they were all on a wedge. Do you know what I mean? Like, they couldn't complain. You know, you know, all the staff that did really well, they were on a proper salary. You know, a lot of the crazy, man. You know, a lot of the money went on just paying the good people just to keep them. Do you know what I mean? Because I really invested in them. You know, you know, and then got a nice little office in. It was funny, because I did my little. I had a little box room or whatever. That was my little office with a little chair and that, and then from that, going to a to a communal office, and from the communal office going to my own office in Chinatown. I put a nice office, and you know, and that's where I spent most of my time. You know, because you get like we got pretty big, so we started to get audited, and there was a lot of, you know, in the construction industry again, health and safety is a money making thing, man. You know, so 1 minute, you know, in order to get onto a supply chain, you need this accreditation, you need this, you need that. So I was constantly, you know, getting this, attaining that, you know, so that I spent a lot of my time doing that, and just visiting the sites, you know, doing my own audits, you know, for my audits and everything. And, you know, obviously my business partners, you know, maintaining all the things, and everything seems to be going well. You know, and then, you know, so I feel like, you know what, life's going pretty good, man. But again, it's, I couldn't take my foot off the gas, because it's my, you know, I couldn't really have a break. I couldn't really have a holiday or anything like that, because it's just my whole, my life's revolving around this, and how can I expand? And I've got all these different ideas. I've got this, I've got that, you know. So yeah, that's going all right, you know. But again, I'm just still stuck in this fight or flight mode, can't switch off, you know, and it's reflecting in my work and stuff like that. I was like, oh, you need to calm down, man, you know, just take it easy. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how, you know, but anyways, so 1 year goes by, 2 years goes by, and then I just, with my business partner, things just don't seem to be right. I don't know what's going on in his personal life or whatever. You know, I probably won't go too much into details of what he's doing. I won't name him or whatever. You know, so certain things just are not adding up. You know, not turning up when he should turn up. Yeah. Bearing in mind the guy's in the 50s, he's a lot older than me. You know what I mean? I'm a puppy compared to him, but it's like I've got this drive in me, you know. But anyways, not turning up, this, that, you know, just his attitude and demeanor changes.
Wow.
And it sets off alarm bells in my head. Yeah. You know, because it's my bread and butter. Yeah. I want to get somewhere with it. Yeah. You know, and I'm getting somewhere with it. Yeah. In the midst of all this, you know, I get invited out to the UAE to expand, you know, because that's where I want to go now. You know what I mean? So I want to expand into the UAE. So, you know, that's where it's at, you know. So I'm arranging these meetings in the UAE with the, you know, with the supply chain out there, you know, with certain tier 1 construction companies, you know. So things seem to be going all right, but you know, and our relationship kind of broke down a little bit. You know, I think he just, I don't know, there was just something about him where I just knew something was going to happen. You know, I spoke to my accountant and I spoke to certain people and I was like, listen, I think something's going to happen here. You know, I don't know when, but, you know, something just doesn't seem right, you know, because I'm good at reading people, I'm good at reading situations and stuff. And again, that, the level of anxiety from that is madness because...
Can imagine.
Yeah, because when clients come to me, it's a problem. They shouldn't have to come to me. Yeah. Because I'm the one, I'm too busy doing expanding the business, you know, doing all the, you know, all the business development side of things and all that sort of jazz and all the money side of things. I'm the money man. Yeah. You know. And when they're coming to me, it's not a good sign. Yeah. So I start rocking up onto these sites unattended. Yeah. And it's a shambles. You know, because he's in charge of staffing, he's in charge of recruitment, making sure everything's on
the groundwork
on site. Right, okay, what do you need? Right, okay, do you need that? Right, okay, bang, done. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyways, it's just not all what it seems to be, you know. So as soon as I rock up onto site, they look at my logo and they're disgusted and they drag me in and I've got my ass handed to me. They're all saying, what's going on with the staff, standards, this, that, because for me, when I started, standards were the main thing to me. That's why we got a lot of the work, because it was the standards. Standards were good. You know, we got these absolutely bomb sites, you know, these some of these apartments, right, weren't even habitable, you know, and they're brand new, you know, and we managed to get them into such good standard. But anyways, I'm having it out with him and I'm like, what's going on here? And it's causing friction and he's not turning up and this and that. And I'm going to all these sites, and it's happening now in all these sites. And I'm like, no wonder. But he was like, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. But I don't know, you know. And I don't know what was going on. And we had a few arguments, you know, and yeah. But anyways, it's just going on, and I'm just trying to fight to get the proper staff, because staffing, especially in cleaning industries, is solid, man. Yeah. It's solid, man. You know, then we start going down the agency route and they're bringing these guys that have got no teeth and stink of weed. And it's like, who are these people you're giving me? Yeah. You know, and but anyways, and then slowly, we start to hemorrhage money because we're using the money in the wrong areas, you know. And this is when I wish I had the correct people around me. Sure. You know, I wish I had the correct advice in terms of money. I wish I had if I had somebody that understood business development in the cleaning industry or whatever, you know, I think I'd still, you know, who knows? But, you know, all this is happening and I'm losing contracts at the same time. And, you know, I'm getting price fixed, which is a jailable offence. You know what I mean? I'm getting price fixed out of contracts because I'm going against these multi-million pound, billion pound companies, you know, But what am I going to do? Take them to court? They'll just drown me out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly,
And I'm just like, bloody hell, you know, I'm fighting all this at the same time. And all this is going on. And then, what's it called? One day he just says to me, he goes, I'm done. I go, what do you mean? I go, we got all this. We need to fulfill all this. At the same time, we get some big contracts. Whereas life-changing amounts of money, you know what I mean? Like we could be millionaires next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've got all these big contracts with like Strangeways and all these other things, you know, because they're doing a big massive what's it called, a refurbishment or whatever, and all these different phases and all that, and, you know, and that was one of our biggest projects to date. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know, and he's like, oh, we can't do it. You know, this, that, you know, and I'm like, relax. So I managed to talk him out of it, you know. But I know there's a plan on in his head. You know, I know what he's doing. I'm not stupid, but I need to keep him on the reel.
Yeah.
Just to keep, you know, because I need to play it smart.
Yeah.
And there's this certain client, another tier 1 construction company that for 2 years I was trying to get on board with.
Yeah.
And on LinkedIn, they used to just ignore me, this, that, and this is what it is when you don't have the funds to market yourself or whatever, or you don't have that amount of money.
Cold text and messages
just constant, and I'm trying to build up a reputation, and I'm trying to get all these different accreditations that all these other companies don't have, but it's expensive.
Of course,
really expensive, man. You know, like it's people don't understand. Like bloody hell, tens of thousands of pounds. Every few months just to maintain these accreditations standards, or whatever, you know. So they get in contact with me. They're like, listen, can you come price this job up in town? And I was just like, Greg, we've got on board with these guys, because these guys are absolutely everywhere. Yeah. This construction company, they're everywhere. I don't want to name any, you know, whatever, but they're everywhere. And I thought, we've got on board with these guys once we're in. Because the thing is, right, if you get on board with a certain construction company and you do a good job, they'll keep you.
Yeah,
you understand? And all you need is two free construction companies, and you're set. You're set. Yeah. You know, you don't really need to expand much. Yeah. You know, as long as you can facilitate whatever they want, whether it be, you know, in the Northwest or whatever, or even in the UAE, they'll help you. Yeah. You know, but obviously he had other intentions. So, and then again, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, pick up after what's going on, and I'm trying to rectify what's going on, and I just know his head's not in it. Yeah. And he said me one day, and he's like, listen, Bobby, I'm done. Like, there's no talking out of it. Yeah. You know, this, that. And I don't think his head was it anyway. I think he was way out of his depth. Yeah. You know, we tried or whatever, but I think there's just, again, I don't want to go into too much detail to what went on with him, you know, but I just feel like he really threw me under the bus, man. Damn. You know, he really threw me under the bus, and it is what it is. It was scummy what he did, man. Yeah. Bad, man. You don't do that to anybody. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? What he did. And again, he's not loyal to you. He's loyal to the need of you. Yeah. You know, and anyways, I carried on for a bit after that. I thought, again, I'm stubborn. I thought, I'm going to go out alone. But when he did that, right, again, boom, I'm down. Yeah. I'm down and out, man. I'm down and out. And I'm waking up first thing in the morning. I'm throwing up because I'm that scared. Yeah. Because I've got all this staff, right? We're hemorrhaging money. They're relying on me. Yeah, to feed families. To feed their families. Yeah. And I'm having issues with these clients because they're not paying me on time. You know, they need to pay me on time because I'm not as big as these other people. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. I don't want to go down the invoice financing route because because there's so many charges or whatever, and I'm trying, and you know, I'm just about doing things and it's on my own, and it was just so hard, man. And you know, and oh my God, it was crazy, bro. You know, and couldn't sleep, and I'm just, you know, just taking it on the chin. Yeah. Because they can't stand the sight of me. They just like, listen, we just want it done. Yeah. Just get it done. Yeah. Some sites, they're getting other cleaning companies in, and that's so embarrassing when they do that. You know what I mean? And I'm just trying to do, you know, and I'm getting mentally drained and all that. And then in the midst of all this, I get a company that wants to buy the company off me. You know, and I'm stubborn. I'm like, nah. No. You know what I mean? And you know what? Thinking about it, maybe I should have done, because the offer that they put on the table for me was a pretty sick offer. Yeah. You know, because they was like, listen, we'll buy the company off you. We'll give you a cash lump sum. Yeah. We'll give you a salary. And then we'll build it up
Yeah.
Right? We'll build it up to where it gets to like a £5 million company, and we'll give you 20%.
Makes sense.
It's life changing amounts of money in it. But I told him to swing it. At a time when I should have done it, I was like, nah, I do one. I don't know why, but I was just like, no, because it's mine, man. I'm proud. I'm like, yo. I knew who they were. They were sharks, man. Because they were sharks, man. I could see it in his eyes, and I was like, no chance, man. Because of the potential of the business, I was like, you know what? And the image, because we took Manchester by storm, man. You know, with the company, everyone's like, well, yeah, where these lot come from, and we're getting all these contracts left, right, and centre, and you know, a lot of these clients that had these long-lasting relationships with these other clean companies, they just dumping them, coming for us and all that, you know, because you know, but yeah, so I carried on for a bit, and it just got too much, man. I could just feel my health going downhill again, man.
Yeah.
You know, I had to scrap going out to the UAE, expanding out to the UAE, and that for me, that was a gap. That for me, I would have left everything here, and I would have just focused on the UAE. Yeah. Because out there, mate, you know, it's a gold mine, especially in the construction industry. And if you can get in there with them people, especially the Arabs and all that lot, you know what I mean? Sweet. You know, because my surname's Sheikh and all that lot, they might look at my passport and they were like, oh,
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Mashallah.
Yeah, standard. Yeah, oh my God. You know what I mean? They look at my Mr. Sheikh. Like, yes.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Madness, do you know what I mean? But yeah, so anyways, he sailed off into the sunset. God knows what he's doing with his life now. So I ended up getting a phone call from a good mate of mine. Yeah. Who I used to sub a lot of work out to. He's got an exterior cleaning business. What's it called? Anyways, and he's like, oh, your business partner, I don't want to name him. He's like, yeah, so and so's rang me. And he's like, he's saying, oh, if he's got any work, do I fancy doing it for him? So in mind, I'm like, what a cheeky,
going on? Yeah,
son of a gunman, you know. Yeah. So I know what he's done. Who he's associated with, you know, they've probably seen the money. I don't know. God knows. Yeah. He wants to do his own thing. You understand? Yeah. You know, and it's just slimy, man. Yeah, slimy. You know, you work together, you build it up and all that. But obviously, he's rinsed whatever he's rinsed. Yeah. You know, and he's took his money and he's effed off with it. You know what I mean? And then it got to a really uncomfortable stage where I was just like, I can't do it anymore, man. Yeah. Can't do it anymore. Can't do this. I'm done. It's just too much pressure. Yeah. You know, I'd rather go out fighting rather than selling my soul. You know, he would have sold his soul in a heartbeat like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I was like, shall I try and approach these people again? But I'm like, no, fuck that, because then they'll just tell me to swing it. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. And again, find myself boom down again. You know, because I never thought I'd be in that situation of losing my business, you know, because I worked so hard and tooth and nail. You know what I mean? I sacrificed my health and everything, and I just thought, you know what, I got rid of it. Yeah. You know, cashed out whatever I cashed out, and took a bit of a career break, man, and here I am. Yeah. Here I am, man. You know, and I was in it. That happened. Yeah. And again, that was that, you know, lost my day. I was like, oh my God, you know. And then I had a bit of free time, and then I'm trying to, like, you know, reconnect with certain family members, like my brother, you know, my little brother. You know, he's a good guy, man. Yeah. You know, my little brother and AJ. You know, and he's passionate about bars, and you know, he's got his own little style, you know, and he's such a good kid, man. He's been raised right, you know what I mean? And I feel like whatever I wanted to be, I can see him doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So even I'm not past it in whatever, you know, I'm still smack bang in my hand, but I feel like I'm weathered a bit, you know, because of what I've been through, and I feel like I'd love to invest whatever I've got, my time, money, anything into him. Yeah. You know, because he's at that ripe age of you know, he can do it, you know, because you know, and I feel like that's what I want to do, you know, at some point in life, and you know, and I'm, you know, reconnecting with him, you know, and slowly, you know, because we didn't really have a relationship. Yeah. It was once every blue moon. Yeah. So
what's that been
past
like?
couple of years, it's been all right. At first, he was very nervous because when I shot the business, I kind of like reconnected with him.
Yeah.
His family probably still not bloody like me. I don't, God knows. I don't know. It's hard, innit? Because that's his son. That's their son.
Yeah.
But they don't understand. That's my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a life
course.
before you guys.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And so kind of reconnected with him and, see him every now and again. And, he's proud of me, man. But obviously he doesn't know the battles I fight, I sometimes I do have to put a mask on and stuff because I don't want to show any weakness or whatever, you know what I mean? Because he's proud of his big brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I want to be, even though I might be down and out or whatever, I still want to, I might be kidding myself a little bit or whatever, but I just want him to see, his brother's doing well in life, and it is what it is. It is what it is, so everything's going well with him. And then obviously my sister.
Yeah.
Obviously she was going through her bits and bobs. Me and her were very similar. We were both in care.
Yeah.
We both had relationship breakdowns in care, and we went on to fend for ourselves. Everybody else they come from good families. Yeah, they've got their own stuff going on, but it was nothing like what me and my sister were going through.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, you can have your own bits and bobs, but it was nothing compared to it. And that's why me and her kind of like confiding in each other. We didn't really speak as much as your siblings would do, but she was always there and I was always there. And but obviously she kept a lot of things private, just like how I kept a lot of things private. Certain things that I told you today, nobody knew, but anyways, it is what it is. And I kind of found out, later on about her, whatever. Yeah. And she was struggling, I was struggling, and and slowly throughout like the year, last year I think, slowly throughout the year, she was doing certain things, buying certain gifts, and she was in and out of hospital herself due to her mental health and everything. And she was really trying, but she was doing really well. She was working towards a master's in nursing. And, she had a really good placement in Liverpool, and she was going to Tanzania. On paper, she was just achieving beyond barriers, man, and I was just like, wow, against all odds, man, against all odds. She didn't really have that support network around her or anything. She, like me, bouncing from place to place, living alone, lodging, this, that, not really having a support network around her. Yeah. Obviously, she would have had her sisters and all that, but they've got their own lives.
No, of course, yeah.
They've got their own lives, everyone, it is what it is. And she's trying, getting on, and she'd stay with me every now and again. Everything's fine. I'll go and see her, and she'd just do certain things, certain gifts, and she's like, listen, if I'm not here, there's a little candle with a little poem that I've written, make sure you light it, whatever, whatnot. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Going over mid at the time anyways, and I think it was towards the end of last year, 2023, we're in 2024 now, 2023, towards the end, I know she's struggling a little bit, I'm struggling a little bit, and again, she came down, and then she gave me a little photo of my mum and her, and then obviously my mum, and like she was only a little baby, but me and my mum and her as we was little kids. I kind of understand why she kind of did that, but anyways, and one night she was like, out of the blue, can I FaceTime you? But but she said to me at first, I've still got the message on my phone. She was like, oh, how's things? And I go, it was Christmas time, New Year time at the time. And I was like, everything's all right, but it's just not the same. You know the scripts. It's just not the same, for me, even though, I was in a relationship at the time, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. And she understood. She's like, yeah, I'm kind of spending it with, because she didn't, the Christmas just gone now, the New Year gone now. It's the only time she didn't spend with me. Anyway, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna spend it with my friends this year. I was like, yeah, no worries. And then she's like, oh, by the way, can I FaceTime you? But I was like, I'm just in bed right now. FaceTime me in the morning. She's like, yeah, no worries. And then a day goes by, and then I think it's the day after New Year's Day. I like, Happy New Year, this and that, but nothing. I was like, it is what it is. And then she kind of like took herself off Instagram, and I'm like, what's going on here? This is a bit weird. Anyways, I messaged her, I said, listen, I hope everything's all right. You know, I hope you're good. Nothing. And then my brother, who I don't really talk to, I don't know why, you know, but he's like 27, you know, one above AJ. Never really speaks to me for some. I don't know why. Never really had a relationship with him, even though I want a relationship with him. You know, he just doesn't talk to me. It's just madness, man. I don't understand what. I don't understand it. Maybe he's going through with certain things or whatever. It is what it is. But he rings me crying, and like, what's up? He goes, listen, Bobby, you sat down. I go, don't worry, just tell me what's what. This is in the middle of the night. And he's like, she's dead. I go, what do you mean she's dead? You know, I'm like, what do you mean she's dead? Merseyside police have come to the door. So anyways, I go to see him, and, you know, just to, you know, like comfort him or whatever. And then I go to see my sister the next day at the mortuary, and it was horrible seeing my baby sister in that state. I've not been the same since now. This was what, 6 months ago. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, and I think she helped me through a lot. You know, and we spoke a lot. You know, and she always used to say to me, "I'm so proud of you. You know, you make mum proud." You know, but I think she just missed mum. You know what I mean? And I think she just wanted to be with her mum, you know, just like me.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm tenacious. You know what I mean? Like whatever life throws at me, I'm gonna come at it. She did a lot. You know, she always spoke about grief. Yeah. You know, and loss. You know, and she did a lot of like. You know, I think she did a play, you know, I think it's like The Ugly Bucket, you know, she did a lot of stuff like that, you know, to talk about grief. She's got a book. I totally forgot the name of the book, man. But it's to do with The Ugly Bucket, it's called, and I think that's the book. And then it was talking to her mates and everything, you know, she had a funeral, and the amount of people that was there, like we was at the funeral place, and it just a sea of people right out the door. She did the impact she had on people was madness. Just I'm just still coming to terms with it today, bro. You know what I mean? Like you know, there's times where I've wanted to end it, like on my stairs, you know, I've got a little shrine of her and that, and I'm stood at the banister at like 3 a.m. thinking, I just want to be with my sister and my mum, you know, because I'm done, you know, and that's that. I don't even know why I'm crying so much, but it's all built up, emotions and everything. But again, I always say, and the message that I'd say to everybody is, you know, you all deserve to know what not giving up on yourself feels like. You know, she really helped me through a lot. You know, she was the only person I could really speak to, and she'd really understand. You know, and that's that. You know, and but yeah, and I'm just, even till this day, I've not been the same, and I'm up and down, and I've been in the gym, and you know, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. You know, I've always been a big believer in the law of attraction, and like, you know, and then being in the gym, you know, in the mornings, you know, I've never really been in the gym as much as I have been the past 6 months or whatever, and then I got introduced to you, and you know, like gym, you know, I really, you know, God bless you guys. You know, you guys are a breath of fresh air. You know, I've never really been surrounded by anybody like you guys. You know, all throughout my life, I've never really had positiveness. I've never been hugged.
Yeah.
I've never been loved. You know, I've people know me, but I've never really been seen. Yeah. It's a weird feeling. You know, it's a weird feeling. You know, and I don't think I've ever been hugged so much in my life of like you and Jim and everybody. They know innit. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm surrounded by some good guys, and I honest to God, like, if it wasn't for you guys, you know, I wouldn't be alive, mate. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't do this life. But, you know, I think when you're showered with unconditional love, you know, it helps.
Honestly, like, I literally don't know what to say, because, I've never met anyone that's gone through so much and still fighting every single day. Like, how do you keep going? Like,
again,
again,
it's crazy, right? Yeah, because when my mum passed away, I had this dream, right?
Yeah.
Crazy dream, man. So vivid. Like, she was, this dream, and she was in the hearse, you know, with the glass and everything like that, and she kind of like opened her eyes, you know, and like this dark cloud came over, and she was like really scared, and I said, and I tapped on the window. I was like, Mum, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, and then it kind of went like clear sky again, and she smiled and went back to sleep, you know, and then I woke up and I'm sweating and everything, and well, I feel like you know, as much as I want to be with my mum, I feel like I feel like she's her. You know, a mother's love never dies.
Yeah.
You know, and when a mum prays for you, it's a strong thing, and I feel like that's what's keeping me going is the prayers of my mum before she passed away.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not. You know, I was an orphan. You know, and I'm not. I used to be super religious and pious or whatever, but you know, I feel like, you know, there's a special place in God's heart for orphans, do you understand, for an orphan child, and I feel like I've been guided, you know, I feel like I shouldn't have made it out of certain things, you know, like I said, I feel like I shouldn't be alive, I feel like I've outlived certain things, you know what I mean, I don't feel like I should be here today, and
there's a purpose for you.
Yeah, there is, and I think that's why I'm still here today, is because even though I fight against it, even though, like, you know, I'm not a materialistic individual, but I used to be, only because I wanted a normal life like everybody else, but I had to work twice as hard for it. But then I've let go of it all. Even probably this season, I'll let go of it all. Let go of it all, man. I've detached myself emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, of things that don't serve me a purpose. And I always used to regret. I had my heart full of regret, thinking, why this, that, why me? But this year I was like, it is what it is. You know, today's the youngest I'm ever going to be. So I need to take that jump, you understand? And, you know, all your goals and your fears, all your goals and your aspirations are the other side of fear.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why, you know, I took the jump and swallowed a lot of things. I was like, I want to, you know, let's do this podcast. And I was actually up in, I was actually up in the woods yesterday practicing, you know, just practicing, not just for this, but just for content in general, like, hi, my name's Boy, you know, this is what I'm going to do. This is just, you know, you should have seen it with Craig. It was so awkward, man. Even though there was like birds jumping, I'm like, look, do you know what I mean? It was weird. You know
what you're looking at.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It was weird. And honest to God, it took about 20 different takes, and I started getting, just to get comfortable in the camera, because like it's somebody, you know, I'm walking up and down, pacing around, I'm just making the camera follow me, and I'm just talking about my life, and you know, so that's that.
How do you want your sister and your mum to be remembered, and your dad as well?
Well, I think I truly believe that if it wasn't for me, right, none of my brothers and sisters would be in the positions they're in now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, they might agree, they might disagree. You know, but I feel like I sacrificed myself in a way to make sure that they had a good life.
Yeah.
But they don't see that. But it's all good. But I just want them to be grateful for that. That's it. That's all I want. You know, if I go tomorrow, you know, I want them to understand that. You know, like you know, I've got a good poker face. They might not think that, oh, I've had whatever. There's, you know, I'm not here to point score or whatever. Yeah. You know, but I could have been selfish, and I could have said, no, I want to stay with my mum and dad or whatever. I'm not going to do that. But I made that decision to take my brothers and sisters at a young age, and that's what changed it for me. And I've suffered ever since then. I've suffered. It's been loss and suffer, but it is what it is. But you know, at the expense of me, they've got it good. Yeah, they've had ups and downs mentally because obviously, it's, you know, they go through things, but they're a lot better. They've had a lot better life than I've had.
Yeah,
and it is what it is. You know, and I just want to be remembered. I want them to remember me as just as a big brother or the son who just never give up, who always fought, you know, who was tenacious, persistent, you know, who never give up, you know, who always knew that there's, you know, what if there's something there, you know, and just to not, like I said before, just to not understand what it feels like to never give up, you know, and that's what it is, you know. And I just want them to remember me, just to, you know, I'm you know, that I'm a good person, you know. And even though, you know, I fly under the radar, you know, I just want them to know that I sacrificed myself for them.
Yeah.
You know, I did it all for them, you know. They might not see it.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you know. But, you know, and you know, and it's, and I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe, you know, I don't know. We might need some time to think on that, you know. But
so, like, how are you looking after yourself in all, like, through all this?
I think
are you looking after yourself?
Yeah, you know, it's the norm for me, this, but it's not normal.
No.
And it's taking a toll on my body, you know, and I've never reached out to anybody because it's the cliche thing. I don't want to sound like I'm moaning. I don't know, but it's the norm for me. But when I come across people and I talk about my life, the shock on their face.
Like, the first time you told me, like, just a short version, lost for words. Yeah, because I've never met anyone that's gone through so much. But like when you see you in the gym, you're just like, yeah, it's Bobby, yeah, it's Bobby.
Yeah. And that's how. But what people don't realize is that takes so much mental energy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I go home and I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
you know, like. You know, and that's why I'm so glad for this career break, because after the gym, I'm just at home and I'm just laid down because the amount of energy it's took to get outside of the house. You know, I suffer from anxiety a lot, especially social anxiety. You know, but you won't know it. But it's because I'm not letting it get the better of me. But that mindset itself is powerful. It's draining at the same time.
It's powerful, but draining.
And I think. I've had talking therapies with the NHS and stuff like that, but there's a Andy Mann's Club. I've not gone, but I've always wanted to go. But I've always talked myself out at the last minute because it's like we spoke about what we spoke about today. Yeah, I'm worried about the drive home. Yeah, right, because it's still going to be in my head because I brought up all these emotions that have been suppressed for so many years, and I've spoke about things that not even my own siblings know about. Right. And it's the drive home then, and it's at home, what am I going to be like? And it's tonight, what am I going to be like? You know what I mean? But I've mentally prepared myself for this.
Have
you know? Yeah. But, you know, like by going in the walks and going through things and, you know, bringing the emotions up. Like I'm on the water today, I'm nearly in tears. You know, in the sauna today, I'm nearly in tears because I'm feeling these emotions. I need to feel it, you know. So I'm familiarizing myself with these feelings. And I think, I don't know really. I've not really seeked help from anybody. I think... but I feel like it just comes. I don't ask for it. It comes unintentionally from the you know, it could just be a handshake from yourself, bro. It could just be a smile, bro. You know what I mean? Because that's infectious. It could be Jim saying, "Yeah, Bobby, how's things, bro? It's all good." You know what I mean? Just things like that help me. You know, and just being in the gym, being in that certain environment helped me. You know, but and I think that and it's really learning about childhood trauma, and like I know I've got a wounded inner child because it's like when you go through certain situations in life at a certain age, in your mind or in your body, it pauses. It pauses, you know, and some days I just feel like a lost little child, man. You know what I mean? You know, other days I feel like I'm smack right back in the middle of my prime and I'm ready to attack life and let's go get it, you know. But, you know, a lot of the times I'm just a wounded inner child and I'm just trying to figure out how to adapt. And because I've got these coping mechanisms that I've needed or I've developed to survive, but I don't need them anymore. And that influences my decision making and my state of mind, and it's not good. You know, and what that results in is me having panic attacks, anxiety attacks and stuff. So, you know, but I'm getting there. And obviously I went to see my uncle in Spain, I think a month ago. Stayed out there for a few weeks, and again, you know, it felt like home, man. You know, because it's the last place my mum went, and it's the last place my nana was, and it feels like home, you know. And I was out there, I was working on the land, and I feel like, you know, each shovel I was doing in the land was a problem suppressed, you know, and I feel like it's the only place I know that feels like home, and it was such a surreal feeling, man. It was nice, man.
I love that feeling.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong. The second day I was there, bro, I had a panic attack because of all this built up emotions. I was, you know, because I've always had the fear, this jarring fear of the future. You know, I'm going to go out there for probably like 5-6 weeks next month or whatever, just to get out there. You know, and obviously whilst being out there, I seen one of my other uncles. You know, I've not seen him since my mum's funeral. You know, obviously we spoke here and there, you know, and it was really nice to see him because it's been so distant, we're all anxious about seeing each other. We're all too, you know, it doesn't come across us to check up on because we've never been there, whatever, you know, I seen him and it got emotional, and, you know, because I'm their baby sister's firstborn son, you know, and it's a bit mad, innit, you know, because for so long in my life, I just felt like this little kid that's got nobody, you know. I don't know my aunties, my uncles, you know, my cousins and whatever. I don't know any, you know. It's just mad, and so all of a sudden, you know, at 34 to be surrounded by it, it's a bit surreal, innit. But it's doing me good, man. It's doing me good, you know.
How does it feel to finally have, like, you know, the feeling of a family or people that genuinely care about you?
It's strange, man. It's strange, bro. You know what I mean? Because I've never been able to relate to anybody, you know, when they've got mums, dads, families, this, that. I always think, I wonder what it feels like to have a mum and dad. I wonder what it feels like to have auntie and uncle. I always wonder, but I kind of feel it now a little bit, but in time it'll come.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's not really sunk in just yet. Yeah. But with my uncle, who's living in Spain, I think, you know, I feel like he is, man. You know, he tries his best, man. You know what I mean? And you know, he tries his best to give me advice and stuff. And it feels good, you know, because I've been there a lot. There's that familiar thing with him, you know, and I feel like I can be my true self. You know, I feel like I can be me, you know, which is very rare, you know. But I am around you guys. I am me, but it's, you know, but and then obviously, you know, got in contact with my other uncle, and I went to see him, you know, last week, and went to see him down Wales, and you know, and again, you know, out of the blue, when nobody was there, he just hugged me, and he was just like, you know, it's so good to see you, Bobby.
I love that. The
hug it's a different hug, man. It's a different hug. I'm not used to that. You know, I just want to pull away. Like,
what are you doing, man?
But it's a different, man. But and you got to allow yourself to be vulnerable then, and open up and relax, because I've always got a tense jaw and shoulders and everything, and you know, and. You know, and man, you know, and that's it.
So, Bobby, if you were to advise anyone, any young person that could be going through this right now, because we don't know what's happening around the world. We don't know what's happening next door. So everyone might be thinking, that boy's fine. Like, you know, what would you advise anyone that could be listening to this podcast right now and that's going through what you went through?
I feel, you know, I am kind of lucky because I managed to get myself out of that situation at a young age, but there's certain individuals, families, whoever it is, that's still going through it now. You know, and I feel like I know it's hard. It's hard to give advice and to tell people because, you know, I've been in that situation, you know, but it's easy to say, just, you know, to not feel like you're on your own because you're not, you know. But my advice is the advice I can give, obviously, to somebody my age is to just get out, get active, and just try your best to surround yourself with individuals, certain people, just like in the gym, and whether it be in the gym or what certain activities, whether it be walking groups, whether it be running clubs, or whether it be in the library, any sort of club, any sort of club or group activity, get yourself in. But the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself. I'm not on about your social circle, your friends. Get out of that. Get out of that, and get into some sort of a club or some sort of activity where there's a group of people. Because people that you don't know, especially, and and be you, and because it's rarely ever people are going to pick up the phone and dial these crisis numbers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's very rare. You know what I mean? But and you're not on your own. There's a lot of people that are going through the same things, and that's the reason why I wanted to do what I did today, is because I'd want people to reach out to me, because I've got such a wealth of life experience. I'm not one of these cliche people that are going to spit out these marketing, these quotes and all that, all this jargon and all that. I'm going to talk from
real life,
raw and authentic. And reach out. That's it, man. You just remain steadfast, and certain people might not be religious, certain part of people, but it's just really believe. The human mind and the human body is such a powerful thing. And the energy that you give off, and it's try and, obviously for me, tomorrow, I don't think about tomorrow because it's too overwhelming, so I try and today I try and water the garden today, because you're either creating your hell or your heaven, you understand? And certain little things, that's all it matters, is these little goals, right? Clean your bedroom, that's small steps, hoover, take care of yourself, because if you look good, you feel good, you do good, you understand? And that's one thing that I've always done, so I've always, whether it be your parents or gym or health or anything, so and it's routine. Routine. You need a routine, man. You need structure. Even though you don't know where you're going in life, create structure. Right? Okay, I'm going to get up at this time. I'm going to have food at this time. I'm going to do this at this time. It's structure, because all these different things, they'll take your mind off dwelling on certain things. Like me, even today, I can't have an iota of free time because my mind wanders. Like free time for me is the sauna. Is the gym.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you understand? I need to be busy, but I think that's just a fight or flight. But I'm still learning. I'm still learning, bro.
Yeah. I love that. I'm just lost for word, and also like really grateful for you sharing your story, because I feel like there will be people out there listening to this, and hopefully this can impact them in a positive way, and they can open up, speak to other people, and realize that they're not going through this alone. So what's next for you? Like, what's the plan? If there is a plan, there's no need for a plan.
I'm just winging it in life. Day by day. But I think what I would love to do. And I'm obviously, it's the early stages, and I'm the planning stages, and I just want to surround myself with the right people. That are on the same journey as me. I'm not asking for handouts or whatever, but I just want to surround myself with the right people, get the right advice, something that I should have got 10 years ago or whatever. But I really want to start putting more content out there on social media. Hopefully, I really want to put some content out there, just to talk about, obviously, my experiences, what I've been through in life, past, present, going forward. Some things people can relate to, and I think, I really want to do something in memory of my sister. I really want to set up a foundation or a charity. Like an umbrella foundation type of thing, where underneath that foundation there's like a little clothing brand. But we can go into detail about that on a later date. But there's just certain things I want to put in place in memory of my sister. and a portion of, the profits from that will go towards helping orphans, especially in the care system, children in the care system, and going towards more support for children that leave in care, because it's such a scary thing, and don't get me wrong, there is certain individuals out there that have left care that are flourishing, but flourishing, that are achieving loads, but I feel like, they shouldn't have to deal with it, and I just want to put systems in place, where they can, where it supports them. I think that's my goals. That's my goals. And I'd love to call it like the Forever Sunflower Foundation, because my sister loves sunflowers. And I think obviously in the future, I'll try and post a lot of more of that on my social media. So yeah.
I love. You know what? I love that. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing to do, to give to others. Again, being vulnerable is not easy, especially one, as a man, two, going through what you go through. It's not easy at all.
As a man, there's no stigma now, because obviously there's a lot more. There's a lot more talking about it. But I mean, like, for guys, it's a tough paper round, man. Especially even in general, because it's like, as a guy, you need purpose.
True.
And when you go out, you go out, you want to be the breadwinner. You want to come home and everybody's good, and you're not bothered about sacrificing your body and your time and your life to as long as it's purpose, and it's hard, especially in this day and age where it's hard, purpose it's hard, man, to find, and a lot of things play into it, but it's I just like I said, I want to put things out there to help people like that or whatever. But again, what I wanted to say is, anybody wants to reach out, you can find me on Instagram.
Yeah. If you can give one life advice, what would it be? If I could give one piece of life advice. Again, it's what I always say is I don't know, it's hard really, because I'm not used to giving advice. But if I could give one piece of advice, it would be from your own story, maybe.
It would be, again, I've said it before, you owe it to yourself to truly know what not giving up on yourself feels like, and it's just, be tenacious, be persistent, because this life is so precious and it goes by so quick. Yesterday I was only 18, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm 34 now. I can't believe I'm 34, bro. It feels
still
weird
young,
saying
bro.
it.
Still young.
Yeah, and I think life is so short, right? Yeah. Don't care about what people think. Like that's how I was for a certain period of time, and just go after it, man, because you deserve it, and and just make something of this life. Whether it be wanting to be on a little farm somewhere, tendering to whatever, just go for it, man, because life goes, man, and this body that we've got is capable of so much. Physically, mentally, just take advantage of it, man. Because there's a short window of time where it is, and then it passes by. So we only have a short window, man, and
make the most of it.
And and don't be afraid of asking for advice. Don't be afraid of asking questions. Don't be afraid of feeling like that, like you're gonna look stupid asking questions. Because it's only now, this 6 months, where I've just asked so many questions, even to yourself, advice or whatever. It's all good. It's all good.
Just let us hear.
Because in return, people love to be asked for advice. It's such a, when people come to, listen, do you know this, do you know that? And you're like, whoa, bloody hell, they're coming to me. You know what I mean? So that's that.
I love that. And then we're doing a little fun question. If you had to choose one pick me up song, what would it be?
Oh, bloody hell, I forgot about that, bro.
Pressure.
Pick me up song.
All the songs. Or like the one song that stick out to you. every time.
One song that sticks out to me would be, I don't know why, it's my mum loved it, and it's George Michael, Fast Love.
Oh, I love that. Sing it for us then.
I don't know why. I always used to listen to that song, but I don't know why I love that song. I don't know why.
I love that.
That's a random. I don't know why I said that. People might think, what? But there's a load.
But it's cancelled.
yeah. I just love that song. It's just nice, man.
Yeah.
I think because my mum loved that. My mum always used to play it.
That's
when,
beautiful,
you know what I mean?
That's
so,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you a big reader?
So, I'd love to be a big reader, but
Same.
But with
like audiobooks and stuff.
Audiobooks, there's a few. But I think obviously there's that book, The Law of Attraction.
Yeah.
That one. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
There is a few other books out there. But I think it's just The Law of Attraction for me was the big one.
Yeah.
And that's the book that I'd probably recommend.
Yeah.
Because it really helped me in terms of my mindset.
Yeah.
And I used to think, I really want something, but you really need to want it, and that book really helps you develop that mindset.
I love that. I just want to say thank you for your time, thank you for your just pure honesty, just realness. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say, because I was I'm just. Yeah, I've never met someone so strong as you, and been through so much and still standing and still fighting every single day. For me, you're an inspiration to me, and I know your story is going to inspire a lot of people out there, and I can't wait for you to get started in the content creation.
Yeah, I think it's my calling anyway. And I love podcasts. I love this whole setup, and I do, and I appreciate you for giving me your time and allowing me to sit here and with the ups and downs and everything.
Thank you,
I do appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate it, bro.
That's for that.
It's a wrap. Let's clap it up together. Yeah. And that's it for today's episode. If something resonated with you, please do one thing. Share it. Send it to a friend. Post it on your story, or just talk about it with someone you trust. These conversations matter. And please, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and download each episode. It helps more people find this space and join our movement. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us at empoweredhumantribe.co.uk and on our socials at Empowered Human Tribe. I'm your host, Adeshina Adeshokon. You are not alone, you are not too late, and you are more powerful than you've ever been told. This is Empowered Human Podcast. Keep on shining. I will see you next time, my friend.